In a dusty corner of a small village, where the air was often filled with the scent of firewood and distant songs from nearby farms, lived a young girl named Alma. She was just 13 when her life changed forever. Alma was a quiet child with wide, thoughtful eyes and a heart full of dreams. But dreams were a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when hunger gnawed at her belly more often than food filled it. Her mother had died when she was a baby, and her father, broken by grief and poverty, had sunk into a life of drinking and bitterness. There were days Alma would go to bed with only water in her stomach. She would sit by the village well, watching other children go to school while she waited for someone to offer her a small task, a way to earn a coin or two. Life was harsh, but Alma never complained. She endured. One rainy afternoon, a sleek black car arrived in the village, a rare sight that stirred whispers among the villagers. Out stepped a well-dressed woman in her mid-40s, Mrs. Serwa Minsa, the matriarch of one of the wealthiest families in the city. Rumor had it she was looking for a young girl to help around her mansion. Word spread like wildfire, and soon Alma's father, sensing an opportunity, brought his daughter forward. He spoke softly to Mrs. Minsa, lying through his teeth. "She's obedient, quiet, and strong. She'll serve you well. Just take her. I don't want any payment. Just give her food and shelter." And just like that, Alma was sold, not for money, but for the false comfort of knowing she would eat. The city was unlike anything Alma had ever seen. The Mensa mansion was vast and glittering with marble floors, chandeliers, and servants who never smiled. Alma was given a small room near the kitchen, barely large enough for a mattress. Her duties were endless: scrubbing, cooking, running errands, and enduring insults from other staff who saw her as nothing more than a village girl. But strangely, Mrs. Minsa treated Alma differently. She was never warm, but she was never cruel. Often she would stand quietly, watching Alma sweep the floor or serve tea. Once she even asked Alma to sit beside her and brush her long hair, something no other servant was ever allowed to do. Alma was confused but never questioned it. As years passed, Alma grew into a beautiful young woman. She was now 18, graceful and kind, and still working for the Minsas. Despite the cruelty she sometimes faced from other maids, she bore everything with patience. She had grown to love the youngest son of the house, Kobina, from afar. He was kind to her, sometimes sneaking her books or sharing his leftover breakfast. But Alma knew her place. She never let her feelings show. One day, something unusual happened. Mrs. Minsa fell terribly ill and was rushed to the hospital. During her recovery, doctors discovered she had a rare blood condition that required a close relative as a donor. Her children were tested, but none were a match. The doctors urged her to find any long-lost relative, even a cousin. Desperate and scared, Mrs. Minsa asked for DNA testing to be done on all staff, on the off chance someone in her household was a match. Everyone laughed at the idea. What were the chances a random maid would be related? And then the results came in. Alma was a perfect match. Confused and shaken, Mrs. Minsa demanded a private DNA test. It wasn't just a match for blood type, it was deeper than that. The results showed a 99.9% maternal link. Alma was her daughter. Shock gripped the house like a storm. Tears welled in Mrs. Minsa's eyes as she confronted her husband, Mr. Minsa. "What did you do? Where is my daughter? The one we lost at birth?" Mr. Minsa, pale and trembling, finally confessed a dark truth buried for 18 years. Their first child, born during a complicated delivery, had been declared stillborn. But the midwife who helped with the birth, Mrs. Minsa's jealous cousin, had secretly taken the healthy baby and given it to a poor man in the village, claiming the child had died. That man was Alma's father. Mrs. Minsa wept for hours. Her daughter, her flesh and blood, had been living in her house as a servant for 5 years, unloved, overlooked, and mistreated. She had brushed her hair, watched her suffer, and never knew the truth. The mansion was turned upside down. The other maids, once cruel to Alma, now treated her with fearful respect. Mr. Minsa, ashamed beyond words, tried to apologize, but Alma could barely look at him. As for Mrs. Minsa, she embraced her daughter with a grief so deep it could be felt in her bones. She gave Alma her rightful place in the family, not out of guilt, but out of love. She took her shopping for clothes, enrolled her in university, and introduced her proudly as my firstborn. At first, Alma didn't know how to feel. She had spent her life yearning for love, only to discover that the woman she worked for was the mother she had been taken from. The pain was deep, but over time, Alma's heart began to heal. Kobina, who had always been kind to her, now looked at her differently too. Not with pity, but with admiration. And though it took time, their bond deepened into something pure and honest, not as servant and master, but as equals. Years later, Alma stood before a crowd at her graduation ceremony, giving a speech as valedictorian. She looked out into the crowd and saw her mother, tears of joy streaming down her face. "My name is Alma Mensa," she said, voice steady and full of pride. "And though I was once a maid, today I stand here not just because of where I came from, but because of where I chose to go. The past does not define us. Love, truth, and forgiveness do." The crowd erupted in applause. And so, the poor girl once sold into service became not only the daughter of a wealthy family, but a symbol of resilience, truth, and the unbreakable bond of blood.